Hello again, and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel. I'm your host, Prince Magnum, and welcome to In Your Face. Today we're going to talk about the Mustang. Before we get underway, understand I'm not going to knock the Mustang. That's not what I'm going to do. I am going to give you some inside info that you need to know if you're going to get a late model Mustang, or even an earlier one, say like from the 60s, 70s, 80s, whatever. There's some things that you need to know so you don't end up on YouTube or in the Mustang memes that it's all over Facebook and things like that. So let's get down to brass tacks. Let's start off with the origins of the Mustang. Back in 1963, Ford decided that they were going to market a two-door car that could seat four people to the young market. That was going to be kind of sporty looking. They didn't spend a whole lot of time on designing a special frame. Actually, they just slapped the frame underneath the 64.5 Mustang from the Ford Falcon. And if you know anything about the Ford Falcon, that was the compact car of the 60s that Ford offered. Nothing wrong with the Ford Falcon, but you have to understand that that's a very lightweight frame. That's why the bodies got really heavy on the Mustangs. In some cases, I'd heard upwards around 4,000 or 5,000 pounds. So it was a very heavy car. And they knew that they had to have that weight to keep it on the road. That's why you don't see very many of the early Mustangs in the Mustang memes, or even the ones from the 70s. Of course, you won't see too many Mustang 2s in Mustang memes because of the simple fact that there's not too many of those left on the road to begin with. Kind of like the Maverick, there's just not many of them out there. So now that you know this, you understand that the Ford Mustang already had a lightweight frame and suspension. Just know that originally the Mustang was just a sporty cruiser. If you wanted it to race, you had to do other stuff. So just know that up front. All right, let's cut to the second part. What's wrong with the Mustang today? Well, if you have kept up with the channel, you know that we had Project Beauty, a 1996 Ford Mustang. It was a base model. It had a 3.8 V6 in it. It was an alright car. I mean, I'll tell you up front, I'm not a big fan of Mustangs. I'm just not. Uh, but you'll be surprised to know that that 96 Mustang's suspension had a lot in common with Project Spirit and Project Vera's rack and pinion from the 70s. Prince Magnum, that sounds a little crazy. Well, believe it or not, it had a lot in common. Um, with that being said, most people don't know that the Mustang and the Maverick have a lot in common. They use pretty much almost identical suspensions. The ones from the 60s and the Mavericks in the 70s had, their frames and suspensions just about matched up. They're kind of cousins, if you will. To tell you what's wrong with the Mustang is that Ford has spent a lot of time lightening the rear ends, and a lot of weight has went up front in electronics and things like that. So I'm going to tell you up front, basically when you punch down that throttle and coming around a corner and the back end starts breaking loose, you might want to back off the throttle, because if you just try to power through it and counter steer, centripetal force is eventually going to take over and you're going to lose control of your Mustang, and thus making it into the Mustang memes. How do you fix that so you don't have to do that? Well, I don't know if too much you can really do, because I mean, even I know with my Maverick, having a heavier back end than a modern Mustang, even I know, I'm going to have to at some point, I'm going to have to back off the throttle. So the question remains: how do we fix it? Spend a lot of time. Talk to some mechanics. Talk to the guys who race them for a living. They'll typically tell you what direction to take it in, and just understand that even if you have one of the new ones that have the fully independent rear suspensions, you're still going to have to put some money into it to get it to do what the cars that drift do. You're going to have to spend a lot of time there. For daily drivers, even if you wanted to do a little bit of do a little bit of crazy hot rodding stuff, you're going to have to spend a little bit of time and money in your rear end. So don't skip that stuff. Make sure that uh, it's got uh, a good posi traction or limited slip rear end in it, and make sure you spend a lot of time beefing things up so it grabs traction better. So you don't lose control, because burnouts are cool, but they're not so much fun whenever you're coming around a corner and the back end's breaking loose. So just bear that in mind. That's how you fix it. So there you have it. Just a few little inside, inside tidbits to give you a general direction, so you don't end up in the Mustang memes. Again, like I said, we had Project Beauty, and I did do some. I'd come around a corner and do a little bit of a fishtail and just shoot straight up the road, even though it was a 3.8 V6. To tell you the truth, most people would be surprised that car weighed in well over 4,000 pounds with all the electronics in it and everything. It was an all right car, but it was definitely not my style. So that brings us to the end of this episode of In Your Face. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as usual. If you have a project, get out there and work on it. Be a do-it-yourselfer. If you have a sweetheart, sweep her off her feet and try to do something special for her today. And above all, if nobody has told you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does. God bless you and have a happy 24. Thank you.